Good afternoon, and what I want to talk about this afternoon is some of the problems that people might be encountering if they're trying to use Dolby Atmos and also they're trying to capture their games or their desktop using a capture device. Now, I ran into some of these problems and this is what has led me to make this video. So first things first, what I want to do is I'll show you my settings. So if we go into settings and I'll show you my sound settings, and I'm already on display and sound, so I'll go down to audio output, and if you look on there I've got stereo uncompressed. Now the reason I've set it to stereo uncompressed is because if you have it set to anything else and you're using a capture device, unless that capture device can capture 5.1 audio, you are going to run into some problems. And I have done a previous video talking about some of those issues, but this is specific to Bitstream today and what happens when you try and use Bitstream. So I've set this initially to stereo uncompressed, and you should find that if you're using a capture device, you won't get any problems if you set it to that. However, as I say, a lot of people are trying to use 5.1 or even Bitstream or even 7.1 if you've got a setup that'll do that. And if you're doing that, then there are some issues that you can run into. So let's just go back a second and show you that everything's working fine. So you can hear the menus. And if I go into Forza briefly, just wait for it to load up, and when it starts loading up you will hear the sound.
Hey Joe, there's a driver who's got a bit of a following. It might be worth bringing them into
And
your
as you
lineup.
can see, everything's working fine there, and you can hear sound, and yeah, the game's working perfectly fine with sound and everything as it should be, obviously in stereo. So let's just go out of that for a moment. And go back into settings. So as I say, we've got this set up with stereo uncompressed, and we're recording the video at the moment and we can hear all the sounds and everything's fine. However, what happens if we try and change it while we're connected with the capture device to Dolby Atmos or even just Bitstream? So if we go down, we go to Bitstream, and this is the error message you'll get. Check your audio receiver. There was a problem using this setting. Make sure your audio receiver supports it. Also, make sure to choose at least one audio setting. Both cannot be off. Right, so that means basically headphones or your home cinema. But even if you are using a home cinema amp that is perfectly capable of processing Bitstream out or 5.1, then you will get that error if you have a capture device in line. So what you need to do in order to be able to go back and use Dolby Atmos is you basically need to disconnect your capture device. That's the simple answer. But what happens if you already have Atmos set? Well, that's a different issue entirely, and you will run into some problems there as well. If you've got Atmos already set up on your Xbox and you try and connect your capture device, you're going to run into a few more issues as well. So we'll get to that now. I'm going to have to cut and change some settings, and I'll come back and we can have a look and see what happens if Dolby Atmos is already set and you want to move over to using your capture device. Right, and we're back, and what I've done while I've been away is I disconnected my capture device. I've gone in and I've reset the Xbox to output Dolby Atmos, and now I've reconnected my capture device, and my capture device is actually capturing now, as you can see. But you will notice one thing: you can't hear the menus. So let's just go in and check the settings just to make sure. If we go down and we go across to audio output from display and sound, and as you can see, I'm set to Bitstream out and Dolby Atmos as well. So it looks like what happens is it's capturing okay, but there's no sound. So if we go back out again, and we'll just go back into Forza Horizon briefly. Let's just go. As you can hear, there's no sound. None at all. And if I go out and I quit the game and I go back into the game and wait for it to load up again. I should have chose a different game, shouldn't I? Because Forza Horizon takes a while to load. And as you can hear, there's no sound. And actually, there's no sound on my TV either. I'm actually turning up the sound on my TV and I've got no sound at all. So basically what's happening is the capture device is capturing the video, but it's not letting any audio through, and it's not capturing the audio either. And that's because we're set to Bitstream, and the capture device cannot process Bitstream, because Bitstream is basically just sending the data out to another device to process it. And while your home cinema amp can process it, the capture device obviously can't. So that's why we're getting no sound. But it gets even more interesting than that. If we go into settings and we go to display and sound and over to audio output, you would think, okay, look, we're set to Bitstream out and we're not getting sound. So let's just change it. So let's go up to stereo uncompressed, because we know that works. And even though we would get sound from 5.1, we wouldn't be able to capture it properly. And as I say, I've done a video about that in the past. So let's change that to stereo uncompressed. Unfortunately, we get the same error message. Check your audio receiver. There was a problem. So how do we change it back in order to be able to record the audio from your Xbox? Well, what you need to do is you're going to have to disconnect the capture device again and then set it back to stereo, and then it should work. So let's do that now just to make sure that that actually will work. So I'm going to go back to the desktop, and then I'm going to disconnect, change it back to stereo, and then see if we can capture again. So just bear with me again. Right, and we're back again. And I've disconnected, as I just said, disconnected the capture device. I've gone back into my settings and I've changed it back to stereo, and then I've reconnected my capture device. So if we go into settings again, and display and sound, down to audio, and as you can see, that is set to stereo uncompressed, and my capture device is capturing perfectly well. So that's basically what you have to do. If you want to use your capture device, you should always set it to stereo. Don't try and set it to Bitstream or even 5.1, because although it will set and it will seem to be working okay, you will run into issues with 5.1 or 7.1 as well. So anytime you're using a capture device, use stereo uncompressed. And if you're running into trouble with using it and you're finding you've got issues with sound, don't try and just change it back to stereo uncompressed. Disconnect your capture device, change to stereo, then reconnect. And then you should find that those issues go away. Obviously, some of these issues are also applicable if you're using, say, a stereo television. You might run into some of these problems as well. Or if you're switching, say, between just outputting to a television and then outputting to a home cinema amp, you may run into these problems as well. So that might apply to people with a setup like that. But I just thought I'd do this video because I have run into these issues myself quite a bit, and it has given me some problems when I've been trying to get game capture, and I've captured, say, an hour of gameplay, and then I've gone to use it and there's been no sound. So, as I say, hopefully that's helped some guys out. Let me know in the comments if you've got any other problems. Also post, and hopefully we can try and get to the bottom of that. In the meantime now, I'm going to sign off, go and grab myself a cup of tea, and wait for my lad to come back from his birthday party that he's at. Not his, another kid, but I'm sure he's having a good time. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.